Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is Sea Raptor, and today we have a battle report from you from the bridge of Tier 8 Premium Italian battleship Roma. Now, as you may have guessed from the title card, this is not my Roma on North America. On my EU account, I have actually managed to get my proper handle without the double zeros on the end of it, and that is where this game is taking place. I managed to pick up a Roma there quite a while ago. It's been on the channel before. I had a scuttlebutt. One of my very first scuttlebutts featured my very first game in Roma on the EU, which was a Kraken. And I've had pretty good luck in this ship ever since then. That game, among others, on the EU kind of opened my eyes to kind of how good this ship really is, how underrated she really is. And I had a stretch a couple of weeks ago where I found myself playing this ship quite a bit on my EU account. Now, my EU account, as it stands at the moment, is not a premium account. I don't usually buy premium time over there. If I have premium time, it's because I've picked it up through, some directive or campaign task or other. Also, because I'm not premium, I don't make as much money. So having a premium ship like a high-tier premium ship like a Roma, being able to take this guy out into battle every now and then, allows me to make some money, which helps fund the grind for the other ship lines that I'm working up, which is mostly cruisers. Spawning here on the north side, northeastern corner of Mountain Range, everybody's favorite map. I have such an irrational hatred of this map. I despise the fence line of islands between A and B. It makes games on this map just play so frustrating. But we start off here, spawning north of C. We only have one destroyer. Ours is a Z46. There's a Benham. Both destroyers early on going to the B cap. Now, at least ours has brought a Smolensk with him. That makes me feel a little happy, because that way, if they can actually spot that Benham, they can murderize him with all those little 130mm guns. For the rest of us, though, that spawned over here on this side of the map, we're just kind of slowly making our way down the 910 line towards C. It's myself and Eugen, a Colbert, and this Iowa. Now, I start off this game in my head thinking, all right, I'm going to go play on the 10 line, because surely somebody's going to cut into the cap or try and get behind that island in, like G8 or cut to the center, and I'll have great shots on them. But as you're going to see over the next several minutes as this game kind of develops, that scenario never really comes to pass. And so I spend a tremendous amount of time over here, the first 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes of the game, and I'm not going to get a whole lot out of it, as you'll see how this engagement develops. This is a very slow developing game for me. But we're going to hit a point probably about the mid-mark of the match that it's going to be a lot more interesting, so you're going to have to bear with me for a few minutes. Now, one of the things about Roma, when you've got her spec'd out correctly, she's pretty trolly on detection. This captain does not have Concealment Expert. So you see there, if you look at the minimap, my concealment is about 13 kilometers. A full concealment build Roma is under 12, about 11.7, 11.6 or so. I keep waiting. I'm holding my fire. I'm intentionally not shooting yet because I'm waiting for this Jean Bart to do something. I keep thinking, okay, he's going to turn, he's going to angle, he's going to give me something, but he never does. And now I'm lit, right? So at some point, I just figure, well, to hell with it. I've got AP in the barrels. Knowing that this angle is terrible, I pull the trigger anyway. And, I get a little bit out of it. One of the things about Roma that I pretty much tend to avoid is firing HE with these guns. The Italian HE is just really, really bad. It almost never gets you anything valuable, in my opinion. And so I tend to avoid it like the plague. Now, I start to think about maybe just pulling back up the 10 line, but this Colbert's, he's got a really good position over here, just spamming the Jean Bart. The Jean Bart's melting, by the way. Colbert doing a great job. But I decide, I don't want to run him off the board. I ended up running into him or something, and I'm like, all right, so I'll just go around him. So I kind of keep moving east here as I try to get past him before I begin my turn, and you see that starting to happen here. Now, the Jean Bart's in a close pass with our Iowa, who is, for reasons I cannot begin to explain, charged directly into this cap. So far, this game not shaping up well for us. Our Z46, our Hydro Destroyer, eats torpedoes in the B cap. But remember that Smolensk that went with him? He avenges him as both destroyers go off the board, as has become the norm, in less than 5 minutes of play. Cost the Smolensk a lot of HP, He's pulling back north as I do manage to get some pretty good solid hits there, into the Jean Bart as he comes around the island showing me a great broadside, but in the end, it's not enough to save our Iowa, who of course is now out very quickly. The Jean Bart's not long for the game though either. The Colbert spam definitely going to catch up with him and take a toll as the Eugen is the one that actually bags the kill. But with 5 minutes to play, nobody owns a cap yet, and we're down one ship. Enemy Tirpitz charging up the 10 line, and I realize I'm going to have to kind of pull back at as much of an angle as I can manage. I'm also putting on some speed. I don't want to fall into his secondary range. Roma's pretty tanky, but at the same time, I don't want to give up a lot of hit points to fires and all that garbage early if I don't have to. So I'm just trying to avoid it. Now, I'm not upset to see this Tirpitz, because if he'll give me a good angle, my shells will bite. I'll get great full pin damage. But of course, we're on the map edge, and this guy is just not... This is... No, the enemy... Our friendly Lexington comes in, and tries to do me a little bit of a solid, right? He does get some good torpedoes into this guy. I keep thinking maybe he'll try and turn to avoid the torpedoes. No. No, he just takes them. His secondary is now going in on me, and once again, I decide, well, to hell with it. I've got the AP loaded. Let's just shoot and see what happens. As the Eugen has moved up, and he takes care of that problem. Both teams back even on 3 kills apiece. So now, we're in a position where the Eugen is pulling out of the cap. The Colbert is still camped behind this island. I'm actually playing behind the Colbert, which is not a great position. You see, I'm starting to turn back, realizing, we're probably in a position we can put some pressure on these guys now. Their Tirpitz and their Jean Bart are gone. The Bayard is a squishy light cruiser. He'll have to back off. The Henri's back on the I line. The Amagi's not even close. It just leaves the Puerto Rico. We're just not sure where he's at. He's probably the only thing that could be useful. And there is the Henri showing up. Obviously not on the I line anymore. Enemy team starting to cap A as we kind of get organized for some kind of play here at C. Friendly Jean Bart is kind of pulled up next to this island, looking like he's trying to get his engines flipped around. Doesn't want this Henri to farm him all day. Of course, French armor scheme is highly vulnerable to those big old fat HE shells, and he's doesn't want to sit there unless he can help it. At this point, I'm not entirely positive what to do with my ship. Right, we're up a ship now. We're up about 100 points ish or so. But the Puerto Rico has taken a very aggressive stance up the 7-8 line. The carrier, the enemy carrier, is now kind of starting to notice our little band here as he takes a rocket strike in on the Smolensk north of me. Ill-advised, but that Smolensk is very low, so just even spotting him for the enemy team is a good gig. And the Jean Bart is reversing, the Colbert is backing off, the Prinz Eugen moving around on the 10 line. I'm just like, ugh, our forces at A are kind of melting. Now the Amagi, the Henri, and the Puerto Rico are all pushing up into the middle of the map. And so I decide, all right, enough. It's time for someone to put a little pressure on these guys. So I've kept my foot on the gas. I haven't changed my speed. I decide I'm going to go around this island. Now I have to be a little cautious here, right? The Puerto Rico is now under 6.5 kilometers. His AP can do very mean things to me if I allow it to. So I start to turn out. All right, I want to take an angle on this engagement. I do not want to show him my flat broadside. He can probably citadel me if I'm perfectly honest. I'd have to check the pen values, but it wouldn't shock me. As I figured, hey, angled cruisers. Roma likes angled cruisers, so let's start taking some shots here. And yeah, that's a terrible one. Just a little bit of bad dispersion, a little bit of island cover, and I don't get many of those shells in at all. But as we approach the halfway mark of the match, their aggressive push up the 7-8 line here, and you can see now they've managed to claw back and tie us on ships, is going to start to bite them in the butt a little bit. The Jean Bart behind me, he's fully astern of me now. He's moved into the cap. The Colbert swinging wide of him, doing something similar as I pop off another garbagey salvo at this Puerto Rico because yay dispersion. By the way, right now this Puerto Rico is easily out damaging me. He's put back-to-back 6,500 damage salvos into me with his AP. So yeah, right now I'm not feeling so good about this decision. But the Henri is about to make up for it. 10 minutes gone, right? I'm at 20,000 damage in a bottom tier battleship, but still a tier 8 battleship, as the Henri makes a mistake. And now, in one single salvo, I'm going to double my damage total. Delicious. Now, the Henri is in a bit of a pickle, right? The Jean Bart's got shots at him. I've got shots at him. He's got to do something. As I start looking for of course, you see the Henri turning back, trying to get his bow into me. I start looking for another shot. But the Amagi snuggled up to the Puerto Rico. The angle for me on the Puerto Rico is terrible. These guys are about to put another probably 7 or 8K into me. Yep, there it comes. So basically, the Henri is about the only good shot I have, and he continues his turn to starboard just enough for me to get some good bite on these shells. Remember, Roma wants to shoot at angled ships, angled cruisers in particular. So I don't get big citadels, but I do get 8K out of some nice penetrations there. I do ricochet 4 shells, which feels terrible. But hey, I'll take what I can get. Upside down on ships and points now, as the enemy team has moved over 300 points, but only for a little while, as my friendly Jean Bart wipes out the Henri. So now, because my positioning choice has taken me out to the center of the map, the Puerto Rico and the Amagi are in a real pickle. They've got a Jean Bart crawling up their stern, and they've got me off this side, off to their north, off this side of the ship. I still don't have a great angle at the Amagi, but the Puerto Rico's turned his engines on. Things are about to start looking up. Friendly Lexington comes in for a torpedo strike, doesn't get it on the Puerto Rico, but he does force the Puerto Rico to show me a beautiful shot, and just the dispersion gods bless me. Look at that out of the barrels. You can just tell that's going to be a good salvo. Delicious. When Roma's guns perform, baby, they perform. Now I've got this Amagi on the broadside. His secondaries open up at over 7 clicks. I'm looking at a secondary build Amagi? Alright, sure, whatever. But he's having to keep speed on and run away from this Jean Bart. Again, I've got a great angle. I'm going to absolutely take this shot. Unfortunately, Roma's guns default back to where they were. I get trolley dispersion, and I do get a couple of pens, but nothing like the big hit I would have preferred. Friendly Colbert has snuck into the cap as we've been playing this little ring around the island up here north of the sea, and we finally managed to bag our first cap 12 minutes into the game. Jean Bart wipes out his broadside Amagi as our team over at A finally folds completely. And now, with over 12 minutes played, both teams are now currently sitting on fewer points than they started with. That's right, kids. Both teams started this game with 300 points. Look at the scores right now. Oof. Now, we have a small ship lead. Our carrier survives along with the Jean Bart, the Colbert, and myself. And I realize, okay, I'm going to go to B. Like B, we need to get into B. I need to cap B. The Colbert has pushed out the bottom end of the sea cap. He's also seems to be thinking the same thing as he turns west. And the Jean Bart is just trying to get his ship reoriented around. We don't know where the enemy carrier is, but I assume before long I'm going to see some carrier planes. They're going to come pay me a nice hello as I try to cap B, because we're about 60 points down, and we need a cap or a kill to start making up an advantage. Sure enough, Lex torpedo bombers show up as I put up my catapult fighter, and you notice friendly Lexington dropping a fighter over my head as well. I tell you guys, playing with a competent CV in some of these games is just a real treat. Lex obviously taking a run at me as I start to turn in. The Yoshino taking pot shots at me. But one of the things about Roma that a lot of people misunderestimate, to use a George W. Bush term, they misunderestimate her maneuverability. He drops these torpedoes out here, but there's a nice nice Roma-sized gap there as I easily squeeze through. And between my AA, the catapult fighter, that torpedo squadron disappears. Now the Georgia has moved up a bit, and in a moment he's going to have eyes on me. I'm trying to pull back north. His 18-inch shells are a huge problem. I've got to get a better angle. I'm not going to be able to stay in this cap. And it's unfortunate because I really want to bag this cap, but it can't happen while he's got this kind of positioning on us. I do slow down a bit, hoping and praying that maybe I can drag this out just long enough, maybe work the cover. But no, I take a shot here because I've got a pretty good angle, and I get a solid hit there. As his shells go somewhere else, and I realize, well, with his reload, I can probably cap. I turn back to port, but the Yoshino resets me. Stern turret's going out, and, well, guess what, kids? Roma's AP pin is no joke. Between the Yoshino and the rockets, I can pick up a couple of fires. Well, that's not okay. We'll get rid of those. As again, my AA, picked up by the Jean Bart, manages to wipe out the rest of those rockets. So now we finally have our first lead of the game. It's only taken us 15 minutes to get there. The Yoshino showing me exactly what I want to see, showing me a beautiful angled cruiser. I get 10k out of that salvo, but unfortunately, I would have liked for a little more, but still not terrible. So as I'm working now, moving forward, I've got the Jean Bar's AA bubble kind of right behind me. I've got the Colbert's AA bubble right behind him. I feel pretty good because I've got two really solid AA ships still with me as the Lex starts to come in for another torpedo strike. I'm waiting for this angle on the Yoshino. I've got such a good angle. And I get a really good hit, but it's not quite enough. He's still in the game as I'm trying to find my way to thread these torpedoes, messing with my throttle here. Yoshino's trying to live, but I think he's finally realized the error of his ways. He does manage to pick up the Jean Bar behind me. That feels pretty terrible. But the Lex comes in with a rocket strike, and hey, Yoshino is pretty squishy, and down he goes. We catch a glimpse of the enemy Lex just briefly. Stern turrets ready. Have at, sir. As I cut back to the south for basically two reasons. One, I'm desperate to stay under... Ooh, that's a nice hit, yeah. I'm desperate to stay in the AA bubble of this Colbert. As he notes in chat, he says, hey, get over here and I'll help you out, which is exactly what I want. And two, I definitely want to make sure that we finish capping B, and then we're going to go carrier hunting. Let my AA start plugging away and do what it can as he now starts wandering into the Colbert's AA bubble, and watch these planes just melt. It's just delicious when this happens. I decide to go ahead and pop a heel there, but the Lex doesn't get anything out of those bombers, as none of them are going to make it back to his deck. With nearly 17 minutes played, the score is 400 to 370. These two teams have simply brutalized each other, but what started off as a really slow game, if you remember, at 10 minutes, the 10-minute mark, I had, what, 20,000 damage? In 7 minutes, I've gotten a lot more damage than that, and we're not done yet, because that, my friends, is a Lexington with a detection radius the size of a small planet. So, yep, as we sail to the west here, and the game begins to wind down, we're going to just continue to harass this guy and try and farm up some more damage. Staying close to the Colbert for AA cover, as you need to do in this kind of a situation. And, yeah. So, I mean, early game, you know, you look at a game like this. This is not a clinic on how to play Roma. I mean, let's be honest here. The first 10 minutes for me were a series of what turned out to be bad positional choices, right? Like, they sounded like, when you talk through it, it sounds like a great idea. But then when you actually see it play out, you're like, this was a terrible idea. Why did I do this? And it wasn't until I made a decision to, you know, we're going to change the paradigm. I'm going to the center of the board. I'm going to get in the face of these guys that are crawling up the 7-8 line. That the whole game changed, and I was able to not only make an impact, but hey, rack up some nice damage along the way. Just going to keep pushing west. I mean, we're into 2 minutes here. The carrier, with the Colbert alive, the carrier's essentially neutralized. Like, he's not going to be able to get a meaningful strike in on us. I have 40,000 hit points and a heal left. The Colbert is running at, what, 3/4 health? He probably still has heals left. Yeah, this Lexington, I think, has finally realized that this is not going to work out well for him, and we don't even bother. He reaches a point where he simply quits sending planes. I really want this kill, right? I just want more damage. I'm like, oh, give me the damage. So I'm trying to get the angle right here to get all these pins through, and I just keep getting trolled. Look at that. I just shorted that when it fell right along his port side. Even the Colbert is struggling with his aim at this range, right? The guy's probably 10, 12 clicks out, and the Colbert is kind of struggling to land shells on him. But I finally get my crap together here and kind of get these angled out right, kind of led correctly. And I believe this is the salvo that I do finally manage to seal the deal in the game as I steer to the A-cap right here at the very end of the game. But we bag a late kill for a nice, tidy win in Battleship Roma. So there you go, guys. I mean, I hear anytime I zone into a game, right, and I see a bottom-tier battleship complaining, it makes my blood boil, right? Because it's like, guys, if you're in a battleship, you have a heal. You have a ton of HP. You have a ton of armor. You have huge guns. You can always impact a match. Even as a bottom-tier battleship, you can always impact a match. You just have to keep looking, take your time, find the place, and find a way. It can absolutely happen. You just got to keep working at it. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Be safe out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.